You ever stare at a list of numbers and just your eyes glaze over? It can look like a totally random jumble. But what if I told you there's a way to make those numbers actually talk? To tell a clear, simple story? Well, that's the magic of statistics, and today we're going to learn the language.
So think about this for a second. How is it possible for just one single number to tell you the whole story about something? Like the performance of your entire class or the stats for your favorite team? That's the big question, and that's exactly what we're here to figure out.
All right, here's our roadmap. First, we'll talk about just making sense of data. Then we'll get into the key building blocks. After that, we're diving into 3 superstar tools: the mean, the median, and the mode. And we'll wrap it all up by seeing how this stuff is all around you every single day.
Okay, let's jump right into part 1, making sense of data. Before we get into any of the tools, we gotta ask, what is this all about anyway? Okay, I know, this definition looks a little textbooky, but think of it like a 4-step recipe. First, you collect all your ingredients. That's the data. Then you organize it, so you know what you're working with. After that, you analyze it, looking for patterns. And then the best part, you interpret it, figuring out what it all means to come to a real conclusion.
But let's just boil it all down, okay? At its heart, statistics is just about one thing: helping us understand data. It's about finding the hidden story inside the numbers. It's not meant to be confusing, it's meant to bring clarity. Right, so before we can start crunching any numbers, we need to know the lingo. So let's quickly cover the most important building blocks. And the biggest word of all is data. It sounds really technical, but honestly, it's just a fancy word for, well, numbers. It's the collection of facts and figures that we're going to be looking at.
And data is absolutely everywhere. It could be the test scores for 5 students in a class. It could be the daily temperature outside. Or, the heights of every player on a sports team. All of that is just data, waiting for us to find its story.
All right, it's time for our first major tool. And you've definitely heard this one before. When people say the average, 9 times out of 10, they're talking about the mean. It's the most common way we find a typical value in a bunch of numbers. So the mean is that one single number that tries to represent the whole group. You can almost think of it as the balance point for all the other numbers. And finding it is super easy. It's just 2 steps. First, you add up all the numbers you have, all of them. Second, you just divide that big total by how many numbers you added up. That's it. Let's actually see it in action. Say we have 3 test scores, a 70, an 80, and a 90. So, step 1, we add them together. 70 plus 80 plus 90 equals 240. Now, for step 2, we get 3 scores, right? So we take 240 and divide it by 3, and boom, we get our mean, 80. That 80 represents the typical score. But wait, the mean isn't always perfect. Imagine you're in a room with 10 people, and you calculate the average salary. Now, what happens if a billionaire walks in? The mean salary is going to skyrocket, right? But that number doesn't really represent a typical person in the room anymore. For situations like that, we need our next tool, the median. The secret to the median is right there in the description, and you cannot forget this part. You have to arrange your numbers in order first, usually from smallest to largest. If you skip that step, it's not going to work. Once they're all lined up, the median is literally just the number in the physical middle of the line. So let's just hammer this home. Step 1, sort your numbers. Step 2, find the one in the center. I'm repeating it because it is the most common mistake people make. Don't forget step 1. Now there is one little twist. If you have an odd number of data points, say 5 numbers, it's easy. There's going to be one clear number right in the middle. But if you have an even number of data points, you'll have 2 numbers sharing that center spot. No worries. All you do is find the average of those 2 middle numbers, and that's your median. Okay, so we've looked at the average with the mean, and the middle with the median. Let's look at our third and final measure, which is all about finding the most popular number, and that's called the mode. And you're going to love this because the mode is probably the easiest of all. It's just the number that shows up more often than any other number in your list. If it helps you remember, think mode sounds a lot like most. For example, just look at this set of numbers here. We've got a 2, a bunch of 3s, a 5, and a 6. You don't even need to do any math. Just by looking, you can see the number 3 appears most frequently. So the mode is 3. That's all there is to it. Okay, so mean, median, and mode. We've covered the basics.
But let's bring it all home. Why on earth does any of this matter? Why should you actually care?
Well, here's the thing. Statistics aren't just for math class. They are everywhere. They help us compare things like exam results. They're absolutely crucial in business, science, sports, you name it. But I think the most important reason is that knowing this stuff helps you think better. It builds your skills to make smarter, more informed decisions in your own life.
So if you take away one thing today, let it be this. Whether you're trying to figure out your grade average or you're looking at your favorite player's stats, these simple tools, the mean, the median, and the mode, are your secret keys to making sense of the world around you. So we'll leave you with a final thought. You now have the basic toolkit. You can start finding the stories that are hiding in the numbers all around you. So my question for you is, what data in your world will you start to analyze? Your screen time? How many steps you take in a day?